Jesus wept.
Yep. That's right.
And it says, if you read the text, it says, and Jesus was angry. He was, it says that he was overwhelmed. If you read it in the Greek, he was overcome with emotion.
That's
correct.
He was distressed is what it said. And it even said that he was agitated.
Yep.
He was.
Yep.
All of these words are literally in the text.
That's right.
Read it for yourself when he's about to raise the Lazarus from the dead. And Jesus,
John 11.
God, in the flesh, cried holy tears.
That's good.
And there's some verses in the Bible that say that Jesus literally, that God keeps our tears in a jar. So he's the tear collector. And I thought to myself, while we were teaching this lesson, we're sitting here, Lynette and I, we going through this and we processing Jesus wept, and yet God keeps tears, which means that tears are sacred. And I had years of tears that I never cried because I thought that I just needed to pick it up and keep moving through the next season.
Suck it up.
So I was a survivor that was dying.
Yep.
I wasn't an overcomer. I was just surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and there's a difference
There's a
between
big difference.
the two. It's all
And I looked at Sean yesterday or day before, whatever, and he was just kind of rehashing a little bit of, after he just had a recent therapy session. And
because I'm still going.
And I just looked
Me
at him
too.
and I said, a free man is a sexy man.
Come on.
She did.
Come on, girl.
I did.
She looked at me.
We
She
was sitting in
said,
a restaurant. I was like, we need to go back to the hotel.
she did. And I was happy. I was just like, I'm going to stay on this journey.
Well, y'all came in the house happy.
Y'all came in this house relaxed.
Absolutely.
10 o'clock in the morning, y'all like, we doing the pod or not? I don't really care.
Listen.
You got gummies in your system? No.
We just happy.
We just happy. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Sean, thank you for sharing that. I know that was very transparent of you to share and for you to expose. And I want to say this because, I always joke between Tim and I, he just relates to women more better. I know this probably sounds odd, right? He has the patience. I'm always like, why are we crying on the first meeting? Why are we crying? What are we crying for, right? But my thing is that, well, I love guys in a way where I've just always been their friend, right? And so even when Tim would have his friends over, at time I'm like part of the guys, right? I let them have their time, and I've cut men's hair for 30 years. I mean, it's, I love talking to men. I just have a great relationship with them because I feel like I understand them. And so, and they're not crying right at the first, maybe the second or third meeting, but not the first meeting. And so we've always just kind of had that. And the conversation always comes up with almost all the men that I have these wonderful, deep and heartfelt conversations with is they do have their childhood traumas like anybody. But they don't always see like, why do I need to get the help or that their past history has anything to do with their current circumstance. Right? And so if I were to bring up to them, well, have you considered X, Y, and Z? Or I would always happen to ask, how was your relationship with your father or your grandfather or your mother? And they would always say, oh, well, X, Y, and Z. It was either great or it wasn't there. Or my dad was absent. But they never would connect the dots that their current, what has happened in their life is affecting their now. So they don't see that there's just literally a complete disconnect to even say that's the issue or there's something wrong with me to fix this situation. So most of them don't think that has anything to do with it. And two, that their viewpoint is wrong. Does that make sense? So that's 100%. always almost all the time. Now, I definitely have had a few conversations where the men are very receptive and are like, well, yeah, maybe I haven't thought about it that way. But most of the time, they just don't feel like that has anything to do with it. And because it's not affecting the current situation, it's not up here that it's that innate trauma, that you're saying, that this unhealed little boy.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, it ain't got nothing to do with that.
Yeah. I heard yesterday, Pastor Dina, she was saying history will always repeat itself.
It will.
And so if you're not aware of what happened when you were that little,